Yeah, that is one of the good things about recording with Zoom. It's like
Yeah.
it has some good features in it. But yeah, so we are starting with Hanged Man, correct?
Yeah.
All
Should
right.
we get into it?
Yeah, it's this is the part where we say the intro. Like I feel like every episode is just going to be like us faffing about for the first few
I think
seconds.
that was it. I think the episode has started now. I think you saying this is the part where we start with the intro. I think that's
Yeah, that's what I was
definitely,
saying. It's
yeah,
like
that's the beginning of the
people are
podcast
already listening right
episode.
now.
That's it.
So
Yes.
hi,
Hi.
welcome
Hi.
to televised TV movie story.
Yes. I think I think that's what we settled on. We're still figuring it out. This
I'm
is
pretty sure that's it. Like I don't have it off the top of my head, but I when I reached for the title, that's what came out, and I think that's it.
if it's not, it is now, but I'm pretty sure it already
It
was.
it oh,
Yes.
it
Hi.
already was.
We're here, our second episode, talking about the asterisk second TV movie, The Hanged Man from 1964, which came about because originally, one of the ideas we threw around was starting with the first TV movie, which is called
See how
See
they
How They
run.
Run? Right, yes. Which was from earlier in the same year, 1964, if I remember
One
correctly.
month earlier. Like not exactly one month, but
Yeah.
like it came out October. This is November.
Right. And so we had that on our little preliminary first month schedule for a bit. And then one of us said, "Hey, we should try and find that movie to make sure it's available." And the only version we could find was like a DVD being sold in like one copy somewhere in like Eastern Europe with like a $80 shipping fee.
Hmm.
It's not anywhere else that we could find. So we had to ditch that idea, and we ended up just keeping that spirit with this, talking second episode about the second TV movie. Obviously, there are movies on our list that predate both of these on our massive running list of 3,000 some movies that we're not never going to get to even a fraction of.
Hmm.
But this one is there were some articles and things on the Wikipedia page that cite it as the second, so we're running with that here, even if it's not technically the second oldest on our list, but it's for all intents and purposes the
Hmm.
second that was aired on American TV, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, actually, I this question plagued me a little, so I did like try to look up like why this was considered the second TV movie. It's like when there's all these other like TV movie things, like TV specials and things like that. And I think the reason is because all those things before this are like li are typically like live filmed broadcasts. Like
Yeah,
it is. And and so it's like, for example, there's like this Pied Piper of Hamelin musical has like Claude Rains in it, and that is like it's a live TV musical. Oh, but meanwhile, this is like pre-filmed, pre-edited, and it's like a lot more similar to like a theatrical motion
it's a
picture
movie movie. It's
rather than a radio play or a play.
yeah, it's a movie people that has movie stars in it and is like yeah, it's a movie. It's a whole entire movie based on another movie which I have talked about on my other podcast,
Hmm.
which I'm sure we'll talk about the similarities and differences and all those connections. But that was a bit of, have you seen Ride the Pink Horse?
Yes, I have seen every Oscar nominated performance.
Right, right. I couldn't
And
remember if that was if you were one of the people I know who has, or there's I don't know.
But the problem is that I barely remember that one, and I'm already forgetting this one.
Yes, I mean I did that earlier in this, well, as we're recording it on almost on December 30th earlier this year, but I did it at some point in 2024. And I remember there were like plot developments that happened in The Hanged Man that I had to like triple check the Wikipedia summary for Ride the Pink Horse to be like, does that also happen in this one? Or is that an invention for this? Like, spoiler alert, the fact that Whitey is still alive, that character is not still alive in Ride the Pink Horse. That character is like full on actually dead for real. And that's an invention of this version, which I think is interesting. It is just ripping off the third man instead. But it is an interesting twist sort of to throw in there that I was not expecting, obviously by virtue of the fact that I've seen the source material and it's a twist in that it's brand new. But yeah, it was I didn't dislike this. It was at some points kind of bland and slow, but I had a good time with it. I have issues, but ultimately I thought it was a fine little noir, I
Mhm.
guess.
I I just think both of the films were boring and could not really
Yeah.
keep my attention with them. I guess we're just getting into the our review
Yeah.
of the thing.
Let me do the rundown with the specs of it because I did write those. Directed by Don Siegel of Dirty Harry and the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Mhm.
who originally had been tasked to make the second TV movie, and made The Killers with Lee Marvin and Ronald Reagan, and then they decided that that was too violent for TV, and that got to be a real actual movie in theaters, and so he was like, "Well, I'm still on contract for a TV movie," and so he made The Hanged Man, not really as a rush job, but like with that in mind, that he had just made another movie earlier in this same year for those same purposes. Written by Jack Laird and Stanford Whitmore, like we said, based on the movie Ride the Pink Horse and the book of the same name from the year before. It stars Robert Culp, Edmond O'Brien, Vera Miles, Norman Fell, Gene Raymond, J. Carroll Naish, Brenda Scott. Cameos by Pat Buttram, Edgar Bergen, Archie Moore, Randy Boone. It has Al Lettieri from The Godfather in like a scene. Seymour Cassell, for some reason, is in a scene of it. And cameos from Stan Getz and Astrid Gilberto doing Girl from Ipanema, which was
Mhm.
a cool little sequence in there. Premiered November 8th or 18th, 1964 on NBC, opposite Dick Van Dyke Show and something called The Hollywood Palace,
Mhm.
on the three channels of TV that there were. Uh, yeah, that's as far as I could find as for like production and like release, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I wish I watched the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, well, I
I
mean
I wish I changed.
that goes for most movies you could watch. Is I would rather be watching the Dick Van Dyke Show.
True. I guess so because the Dick Van Dyke Show, which I haven't even seen, but I assume is great.
It is. Like there's a reason it is one of those 60s sitcoms that like still holds like it holds up from what I've seen of it. It's a fun show. It's a good time.
Yeah. I just to talk about old TV. I haven't watched Dick Van Dyke Show, but I did watch an episode of the Andy Griffith Show, and that was one
Also
of
a
the
good.
funniest things I ever seen.
There's like old sitcoms are really funny is the
Mhm.
thing about like I don't know what the like equivalent of this would be, or if this is like a national channel or if it is local, but there's a channel that I think at least used to be here, if not still here, that I would watch a lot at my dad's house when I was a kid, called Me TV, which is a lot of just like Dick Van Dyke Show, Andy Griffith Show, Twilight Zone, Batman, just like all those old 60s and 70s TV shows, mostly 60s.
Mhm.
And that's like an afternoon you can spend just like in Star Trek. Just a lot of old TV, and it's great. It's a good time on the television. That's the end of that thought. I didn't have anything else to
Oh
it, but like
yeah,
it's always fun revisiting.
I'm just kind to delay us talking about this movie, even though it's something that needs to happen, because I truly have nothing. I have two notes here. One of them was love the random girl from Ipanema interlude, and the other one was love the circus slash carnival themed intro.
Yeah,
That's it. I have
it's
nothing here.
oh, I mean I have notes. I have stuff written down. Yeah, that was one of the differences that like I this movie has like 5 or 6 reviews on IMDb that I just sort of happened on, and they were some of them were like 10 stars, some of them were 3 stars. It's a mix of the like few people that have reviewed this movie. But like one of the things that almost all of the few reviews that I found did mention was the transposition of the story, which is the original movie is in New Mexico, and this one is kind of for no reason in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And like outside of that opening, which then is also the ending, like chase sequence through the carnival parade in the street is like doesn't real well, not that it doesn't have any bearing, because the Celine character is superstitious and does his tarot, and that's where you get the title of the Hanged Man, because she did 7 readings all in a row really quick, and every time pulled the Hanged Man for him, which it feels like maybe you're just not shuffling your deck at that point. If you're pulling the same card 7 times in a row, I don't know if that's fate or if it is just you're not shuffling your tarot deck very well, but uh yeah, there's no real reason otherwise for why to make it in New Orleans. But it
It
was,
it's just a stylistic decision, I guess. It's
it
just like
is, yeah. I guess so that you can have the big
the big Mardi
Whitey,
Gras scene.
yeah, the Mardi Gras scene, but also to have Whitey dressed as the clown,
Mhm.
which is, I mean, it's the poster image on Letterboxd is that very stylized clown costume. It's a good look. It's a
It
good,
it is what made me more interested to watch this movie. And it's just like, wow, I want to see what the whole clown shit's about.
yeah.
And
Is
was
is
very disappointed.
yeah. This movie needs more clown. I think all movies need more clown. I think you could put a clown in most movies and it would be better. That's not
Except
true.
for It Chapter
Actually,
2, there is too much clown in that one.
yeah. Yeah, that is too much clown. I mean, I haven't seen it chapter 2, but based on the first one, that's a lot of clown.
Although,
Uh,
whenever we talk about the It TV movie, we'll talk about exactly how much clown there is and whether it is too much or too little.
yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do a full sliding scale every movie from here on out of would this movie be improved or lessened if there was a clown in it, but it sounds like we have landed on our first bit of the podcast. So, expect more clown meters coming soon. I don't know. Yeah, what about this movie? Truly. Uh,
What about this movie?
I mean, I liked it ultimately. At least the first half, I was really getting into it, partly because I think Ride the Pink Horse is kind of boring and hard to follow, and I thought this did a more interesting like telling of its story, at least to start. It like got me more interested in like the stakes and the characters to a degree. It's not great by any means. It's still pretty talky and slow moving, and I don't really care about the characters, but it did grab me for the first half with some of its flourishes, and uh just the setting of it was striking. I wished there had been more actual living in the space of New Orleans, and like
Mhm.
it's a lot of just like hotels and streets where there's not really anything going on up until the ending sequence. But I liked the look of it from the shitty YouTube upload of it that you can find. But like
Yeah.
it had a nice sort of visual sense to it that kind of went away at a certain point.
Yeah,
But
I it did look nice at the very least, especially for a TV, the second ever TV movie.
yeah,
And it's like, and like the scenes we're talking about where it is like very colorful. It's like the colors do pop, and it's like I imagine like the few people who had color TVs back then had a
yeah,
good time with it.
true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that aspect of it. But yeah, this is a color movie in 1964 when you don't have a lot of color TV around. But yeah, what else? I mean, I didn't take that many notes ultimately. Like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you took two. I did take more, but like some of them are just like Whitey as a clown. That's fun. Or that's new about Whitey being alive, which I mean, I wonder if that's in the book. I wonder if that is something that was in the book and not in Ride the Pink Horse, the movie. But uh, I don't know. I haven't read the book and I'm not going to. But
Yeah.
it's a. I wish they had done more with that because he kind of just pops back up at the end and everyone's like, oh, Whitey's alive. And then he dies anyway. And it just sort of all gets wrapped up.
hmm Yeah. in just like comparing this to Ride the Pink Horse, it's like from my memory at the very least, I think I liked Ride the Pink Horse more. I just thought it was a more well put together like script and just overall movie. But I'm just not a fan of noirs in general. Like it's
Ah,
not a genre I really connect to in the slightest. It's
that
rare for me to really love a noir. So both of these just kind of went in one year out the other, and it's just I just did not care.
that's fair. And as someone who is a fan of noir, this movie and Ride the Pink Horse both kind of suffer on that scale of like not really being noir enough, which is interesting to have both sides of
Oh.
that. Where like it has some of the flair of it, but there's not really a driving force that interests me. It's about the story is about this guy, who I don't know his name, is Robert Culp, whose best friend just got killed in like a car bombing thing. And so he's out to get revenge from the union boss, the Jimmy Hoffa, basically, that
Hmm.
Edmond O'Brien plays, because the guy who died, Whitey, who's not dead, as we find out, had a canceled check for $50,000 that was signed by Edmond O'Brien's character that was like supposed proof that he was ripping off the union that he was the head of and was going to blackmail him with that. And so now Robert Culp's character is going to blackmail Edmund O'Brien with that for $250,000 with the help of Edmund O'Brien's wife, Vera Miles, who it turns out is actually working with Whitey, because they're lovers. And there's a Fed on the case who's like there, and there's this 16-year-old French girl who is following around Robert Culp and is like, I'm in love with you. And he's like, You're 16. I don't care. Uh, and then in the end, there's a big brawl in an alleyway that's so poorly lit, and the image of the YouTube grade upload is so poor that I had a hard time following what was going on. Robert Culp gets shot. Eventually, people are just on a float in the parade, and then Whitey gets shot, and everyone realizes what's going on, and Edmund O'Brien gets arrested, and it's over. And that's the plot, basically, of the whole movie. And it's fine. I mean, like, it's just there's not enough intrigue to the story. There's not really enough to latch on to. There's no twists and turns other than Whitey being alive, which doesn't amount to much because it doesn't really matter. And other than that, like, I do think the noir elements are better utilized in Ride the Pink Horse. I think the villain in that, the Edmund O'Brien type guy, uh, is more charismatic, even though Edmund O'Brien is probably the best performance in this version because
Oh yeah.
he's just really good in this mode.
Like
Uh,
he got an Oscar nomination this year, by
he
the way.
did, for another very good performance, a very against type performance in a movie I do love,
Mhm.
7 Days in May. But like Ride the Pink Horse, I remember liking the villain role. I remember that being a fun, charismatic, interesting performance that was more uh, surprisingly interesting. The character, by the way, that was the Oscar nominated one for that movie, that I talked about on my sister podcast, or I guess my main podcast. This is the sister podcast going off of that. If that's how that works, that's not how that works. Sisters are still, I don't know.
This
It doesn't
podcast is the
matter.
little sister, the other one's the
Yes,
big sister.
that's how it works. But on the lone acting nominees, we talked about Thomas Gomez's performance as Sancho, I think. No,
Poncho.
Pancho, who is. I remember being really confused as to why that character or why that performance was nominated because he's not bad in the movie. It's just a relatively unimportant character and unflashy performance that like there wasn't really anything to it that would warrant the nomination in the first place. And in this version, that character is even more limited. He's basically in two scenes, I think. It's the J. Carroll Naish, uh, Uncle Picot,
Yeah.
Picot, however that name is pronounced in French, who's fun and charming in his few scenes, but he's just kind of there and then not.
Yeah, and the real villain in Bride Pink Horse is Art Smith, correct? Let's Bill
Uh,
Retz, I think his name is.
that sounds right. Let me pull up the Wikipedia page for that one so I can
Because
remember
the one
anything
thing
about.
I remember about Ride the Pink Horse was thinking that Art Smith is really good in this movie and should have been nominated instead of the actual nominee.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he was really charming. Um, yeah, that looks right. That seems to be the guy. Or no, no,
No?
Retz is the federal agent. What is the name of that actor who plays? What's the name
Oh,
of the
is it
character?
Fred Clark or Richard
I
Gaines
think it's
or
Fred Clark.
okay.
Yes, Fred Clark. You're talking about the right character. We're talking about the same character being the most charming. It just got the wrong actor. No, Fred Clark in that is really charming and weird, and he's the one that has the like hearing aid, which is like a running bit through that, which I did like the hearing aid reference in this movie where there's the guy at the train station who has the hearing aids on his glasses and says, "I just can't hear without my glasses." That's a fun line. That was the joke that made me laugh. Like, that's good. That's good writing. There were a few moments like that early on that I really wished carried on throughout the movie. That the script stayed as snappy. I liked when he's observing the body in the like what was it referred to? It's like the ice cooler building slash city morgue or whatever, where they're looking at the burned up corpse that ended up being just some homeless guy. And the coroner there is Pat Buttram for no reason. And the coroner is like, besides, what could anybody do for that? Talking about the body, like there's not going to be a service. It's a burned up corpse, and the way Culp goes, that's got a name.
Mhm.
Devlin. And it's just sort of like the disgust he has at the such flippant treatment of his dead friend, which I thought that was a better through line in Ride the Pink Horse, partially because the friend is actually dead and like you don't really like this totally wastes your main character's entire motivation for the sake of having a twist that kind of goes nowhere.
Mhm.
I think that's a real disservice to the plot that you could have by taking that away and by taking away his whole reason for doing anything,
Mhm.
which annoyed me. But I mean, we got the clown costume as a result. So, like, who's to say what's more important? A coherent motivation for your protagonist or a guy dressed as a clown? Who's to say?
I if we had something in either case, I would have liked this more.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There's not.
something I've been thinking about is why make this movie as the second TV movie? And I have a theory, if it is okay for me to share this theory.
No, it's not. What are you fucking doing here? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. No, no. No, it's not. It's not okay to share your fucking. No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh God, that made me laugh too hard.
I'm glad.
Anyway, so my theory is so the reason they started making TV movies was because NBC was originally like screening a bunch of Hollywood movies like on TV for the first time, getting all these TV premieres of these movies. But then they were running out of movies because all the other networks also wanted to screen these movies. And so it's just like, but so I imagine they wanted to get the rights to Ride the Pink Horse or something, but somebody else may have snatched it up or whatever, or maybe even the studio just didn't want to give it to them. So when they started making original TV movies, they're like, I know, we're just going to remake that old Hollywood movie as a TV movie, and we're going to make it worse.
I mean, to support that theory, The Killers, that was the original one that Siegel made, was also a remake of a noir from the 40s. So,
Oh,
like,
that's true. Yeah.
you do have that in the mix there. That, like, it probably was either they didn't have the rights to the movie, or they did have the rights and wanted to remake it from that just for the sake of like, oh, well, let's just show that we can do this. Let's show that we can, because the first one, the See How They Run, was also NBC, right?
Yes.
And I don't think that's a remake of anything, but I could be wrong. But it could also just be a case where like it's low budget because you're not really shooting on location or anything, and these types of movies, these like traditionally a lot of the at this point best selling and best remembered low budget movies and like indie movies, if you can call them that, were
Mhm.
these sort of like pulpy noirs. Like Crossfire was
Yes,
an independent, like right, the first independent Best Picture nominee or
I
something like
believe
that,
so.
or first non-studio. I don't remember
I
what the.
think what
It's something
Crossfire
like
is
that.
the first B movie to be
B
nominated.
movie. That's what it is, right? But like it is easier to make something like this that is, in general, I imagine a cheaper production, and it comes out like fine. I don't. Again, I didn't dislike this movie. I was kind of bored at points. I was interested at points. I think again, Edmond O'Brien is really. It's a great performance by Edmond O'Brien. He's you know in the pantheon of Oscar-winning actors, he is one that I think gets talked about far too little these days because like I mean, when do you ever hear someone talking about Edmund O'Brien outside of the fact that he won an Oscar, right? Am
Yeah,
I
I mean, he, I think in TCM circles he's more beloved, but it's like
That's
in just
fair. Yeah.
general like film circles, like yeah, I don't think he's too well known, but
Even
he's
even
for those who know him, he is liked.
yeah, like just it feels like even among the character actors of the like 50s and 60s, he does not get enough play relative to, and part of that is because his Oscar win is for a movie nobody ever talks about either for
And and he beat out three people from On the Waterfront.
yeah, but no, he's great.
Barefoot
I'm
Contessa, that's what it is.
Yes. I have not seen that one. Obviously you have, like you mentioned.
Was
What
that a lone Oscar nominee?
it wasn't. I don't know what else it did get, but I know it's not on my list. I know it's not
Okay.
one of the winners.
Oh yeah, of
But
course. You would be aware of it if it
yes.
was.
Yes. But like I said, I have seen his other nomination for 7 Days in May from this same year, which he's great in. I really love that movie.
It is really
Uh
great. Like him
what
and
else?
Frederick March in that movie, it's just so good.
Yeah, I mean that entire cast is really great. Again, Ava Gardner, right? Because she's also in Barefoot Contessa.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah,
that's
she
cool.
is the titular Barefoot Contessa, I'm pretty
That
sure.
makes sense. That would make sense. What else about this movie? One of the things that this movie does have up on Ride the Pink Horse is that you have white people playing white people, unlike in Ride the Pink Horse, where the Celine character is Mexican and is played by a white person,
Hmm.
which is not good. And I liked that they gave that character something. They made her very superstitious and very naive in that way. Whereas in Ride the Pink Horse, that character doesn't really have a motivation or a through line. She's just like, I am in love with this strange, sad man, and I want to help him. And I can't really do anything about it because I'm a teenager, but I'm here in the movie. And I like that this version gave her that that reason to be worried and to be hanging around him is because she drew the hanged man 7 times and she is worried about that he's going to die. I One other thing, because I mean, like I've already gone through most of my notes that I do have, and this is gonna be. I mean, this is probably gonna be a short one in general, but
Yeah.
I do
It
want to
is.
end.
Oh, go
Oh
ahead.
no, I was gonna say
I
what
was
you
just
were
going to
gonna
say
say.
this was always going to be a short one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the episodes for this podcast are probably going to be an hour to under an hour in general for the most part,
It
which I'm not used to on my end. I just recorded an episode that went almost 3 hours
the, the
for
funny thing is
Lone
on my
Actor.
podcast, the initial intent was to make episodes that were shorter, but we ended up
And
making a lot of like longer than an hour, lots of like hour and a half, 2 hour episodes.
yeah,
But now it's like maybe this one will end up upbeat to be on average just shorter podcast.
I feel like it because there's in general less to talk about with these, but I do want to end with one of the last lines of the movie, which is so good, where Celine and Uncle Picot and Celine's boyfriend, who gets thrown in the movie for this last scene, they're riding off into the sunset, and she goes, "Oh, okay, what is the name of his character, the Robert Culp character?" I Let me find this.
Um, it is
Uh,
Harry Pace.
Harry Pace, and she goes, "Au revoir, Harry. Au revoir, Gaylord, which is the name of the federal agent, played by Norman Fell. But I just like, I mean, one of the last lines of the movie is "Au revoir, Gaylord," which like I don't know if that was intended at the time to be like a little double entendre joke of like we're gonna end our movie with someone saying "Au revoir, Gaylord," but like,
I don't
yeah,
think so.
I
I
don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know when gay started referring to homosexual as like a terminology. But yeah, I can't imagine in 1964 that's the joke they're making when it goes uncommented. But like, it doesn't entirely go uncommented on because Harry goes like, "What did she just say?" And he goes, "Gaylord. That's my name." And then they have a little like dialogue back and forth about how this character's name is Gaylord. So like, I mean, what's the point of that exchange if not? Like, I don't know.
Okay. I just quickly looked this up, and apparently in the 1960s, that is what became like the most common term to refer to a homosexual man is gay.
Okay, so I guess that would maybe that was a cheeky little thing to end their movie on.
They wanted to try their best to get around the censors and stuff. Maybe Don Siegel was mad about the Killers being censored and just like, okay, I'm gonna make this movie and just try to do little things to get around the censors. I'm gonna
Maybe
put a
so.
clown and have a girl saying "Gaylord."
Maybe so. Maybe the clown was anti-censorship. I mean, as is the case with a lot of movies that cast their big union bosses as the villain. Like there's a conservative bent to these types of stories and uh but yeah, I mean there's a one. Sorry, I got totally lost in my notes. I got distracted by something else. I don't really remember where I was going with that anyway. But one other line that I did write down that I liked, where it cuts away to Edmond O'Brien's character flying back from Seattle and getting hounded by the press about like some comment a senator made about how corrupt he was, and they're like, "Would you like to would you like to say anything about what this senator said?" And he says, "Oh, I'd like to comment. I'd like to comment, but the FCC would take away your license." I thought that was a good little joke there of I
Again, a
don't know.
jab at the censors.
Yeah, it is. It's a who knows? Maybe this was fueled by a virulent rage at NBC or what have you.
Hmm.
Who knows? Uh,
I mean, fuck NBC.
sure, why
I don't
not?
know.
Might as well take that, the Peacock. Right? That's
Yeah,
NBC.
that's peak. Yeah,
Yeah,
NBC's Peacock. CBS is like an I, and ABC's just ABC.
ABC. Always be closing. What else about?
Goddamn.
Yeah, what else about the Hanged Man? Yeah, the Whitey twist is straight up just the third man, where he thinks his dead friend that he's seen the dead body of is dead, and it turns out, no, actually, I'm alive and in hiding, and I'm the villain, and I'm gonna fuck
Ooh,
you over. It is just the third man. It is straight up just that.
I wish I
Uh,
was watching The Third Man.
yeah, I mean, like again, like that's the case for most movies you could be watching. Is I wish I was watching The Third Man. Uh, I should watch that movie again. It's been a while.
Was that a lone Oscar? No, no,
No.
that was a
Uh,
Best Director thing.
yes, but it wasn't even an acting nominee, but it did
Yeah,
get like I think it won cinematography
yeah. It
even.
won cinematography. Had
Uh, got a
it's
handful of nominations there.
yeah.
Could
It's just like every time you mention old movie, I have to think like, oh, was this a lone acting nominee, or did does Gordon just watch that movie?
Yeah, I do watch other movies sometimes on occasion. Not much on account of how much how whenever I do have time to watch something, because I don't always have the attention span to watch movies, even though that's like my whole thing. I like, well, I should probably watch something for podcast, which, is a great idea for me to start a second podcast about watching more movies. But it will at least expand my horizons as to what I'm watching, so that now I can watch The Hanged Man.
Now you
And
can watch bad movies too.
yeah, like our next episode, which we're about to record on, and a little taste of what you're going to be hearing next week, Babes in Toyland from 1986, which, oh boy, You'll hear our thoughts on that soon enough. But
Wait, is this the outro?
I kind of think so. I don't know. Is there anything else you want
I
to say about the Hanged
I
Man?
can't think of anything else to say, but at the same time, it feels way too quick. I thought we would like
I mean,
fake around like a little bit more, like talk about how good the girl from
I
Ipanema
was actually going to
is,
go back
or
to Girl from Ipanema, which apparently was like had come out this year. I just assumed that was like more of an old standard, which I guess like 1964 is that's still a time for a
it
song
is
to
still
be an old
old.
standard.
Like
But
it.
like I guess I just assumed that was like a 40s or 50s thing that is being referenced here. But no, this is like if whatever TV movie from 2024 was like, and now here's a scene where Sabrina Carpenter does espresso in
Mhm.
full, just like as a nightclub singer in this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was a good, it was, it fits the vibe. It definitely sort of gets you into the groove of it. Great song,
Mhm.
fantastic song.
Oh yeah. Like I think earlier this year, like again, as we record this, I got into a big Girl from Ipanema kick where I was just listening to like every version of the song. It was just like, and God, I love it. I think my favorite version is with Frank Sinatra and not Stan Getz, but the other guy. I think is Gilberto is the other one.
Yeah, oh
But
yeah,
yeah, they sang it. It was great. But I do like this original version as well, of course.
yeah, it's nice. Edgar Bergen is in this movie for no reason as the hotel clerk in one scene. That
Who
was
is Edgar Bergen?
he's the, I mean,
Oh, it's the fucking puppet guy.
the ventriloquist, the Candice Bergen's dad, the vaudeville guy.
Oh my God, I know him from
Yeah,
fucking Fun and Fancy Free.
I know him from The Muppet Show. Uh,
Oh
but
my
yeah,
God.
I mean, hard to recognize him without Puppet. But like, he is a regular guy sometimes without Puppet. But yeah, I mean,
Can,
this movie again, it's a movie
can
that
I
has a
spend the
clown.
moment to explain how he is in Fun and Fancy Free?
Yes,
Because
because I've seen it, but I remember nothing
this
about
is important to me because in Fun and Fancy Free, what you have two Disney short films, essentially long short films. You have fucking Bongo, which is a story about a bear from a circus who
it.
gets
Yes,
stuck in the jungle, and you
yeah.
have Mickey and the Beanstalk, which is Jack and the Beanstalk, but with Mickey and friends. And then in between, you just have Edgar Bergen and his fucking puppet at a children's birthday party with all the kids who are being clearly freaked the fuck out by this puppet. And it's just so uncomfortable. And and you just wonder, why the fuck is this guy here?
Who
And
knows?
it is it is one of the worst Disney movies of all time because both those shorts kind of suck. And that puppet shit in between is just so bad.
Not
Like
a
I
not a
hate that
Charlie
shit.
McCarthy head over there. Not a fan of the comedy stylings of Charlie McCarthy and also his other puppets that he has
I
that are like idiots or something.
no, I am not a fan.
Well, oh well. I guess comedy is subjective. No, I also don't care. I'm not out here upholding the legacy of Edgar
Edward
Bergen or
Bergen.
anything. But yeah, it is wild that he's in this for no reason. Pat Buttram again is there at the beginning as the coroner, and took me a while to realize that was him because like he's not doing the exaggerated voice he does in all his cartoons that I just assumed was how he actually sounded in real life all the time.
Hmm.
But no, it was like a Gilbert Gottfried type thing. That's a put on.
Hmm.
He sounded like a regular guy when he talked. Vera Miles is fine. Robert Culp is like kind of bland as the
He's
protagonist. He's not
so bland.
the the thing about that is like, is it that the performance is bland, or is it that this is just a nothing character? Because in Ride the Pink Horse, I remember also being struck by how empty and kind of blank that protagonist was as well. And I think it's just a case where like this is a story where the most interesting aspects to it are nothing to do with the actual protagonist, and like he could be anybody, and you could swap that out for any other character with any other personality and nothing has changed. And I don't know if I put that blame fully on Robert Culp because I just think this guy is dumb and boring.
I I think also though that Robert Culp is just kind of a boring actor in general. Like in Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, he is the least interesting one, and he's Bob.
Yeah. Part of that is because the other three are so much more interesting and by
But also,
default, but like he is kind of the fourth one in that movie.
mhm. Yeah, you got Natalie Wood, Elliot Gould, and Diane Cannon. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like who would give a shit about Robert Culp in
Yeah.
that movie?
And this is, I think, the next year is when I Spy starts, and that was like what he was most known for
Mhm.
ultimately, aside from like Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have any further thoughts on Robert Culp. I have no opinion of him as an actor, really. I have only seen him in Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice and this, as far as I know. So
Hmm.
like,
Yeah,
oh
like
well.
uh, looking at his letterbox page, apparently I've seen two movies with him, but those other two movies are Los Angeles Plays Itself, which is just a clips from a bunch of different movies that feature LA, and The Pelican Brief, which don't remember a thing about it, and he apparently plays the president,
Huh,
which is the apparently eighth build role on this. So,
sure.
okay.
Sure. Yeah, I have not seen that one. I can't speak to that. Anything else on The Hanged Man?
No, let's put this episode out of its misery.
All right. Yeah, check back in next week for Babes in Toyland. I guess we should plug stuff. We're still figuring out what the structure of this is. We're still you can find me on Letterboxd at I guess just Gordon. I don't remember what I am on Letterboxd. I never plug that. Uh you can find my other podcast at the Lone Acting no at Lone is the Lone Acting Nominees is the name of the podcast. If you're listening to this, you probably already know that, but you can
Yeah.
find that places. Yeah, that's really all that I feel like plugging for finding me.
Hmm. I'm on Letterboxd at Eliza EZ, and I'm on Twitter at Dunkachino, but good luck figuring out how to spell it because I'm not going to bother spelling that. Uh, and yeah, I know I thought I made a Twitter account for this podcast, but
You
looked
did, and I don't remember what you said it was, but we'll find that. It'll
I
be in the show
I
notes. You
didn't
didn't.
though. I made
Oh,
a Google account and made the podcast page for this, but I haven't made the actual uh like I haven't made a Twitter account or anything yet. And that's just like I'm trying to look through like what I was making the default account name for these, but I can't find it yet because we talk too much.
at some point there will be a Twitter. I'll set up an Instagram page at some point to have that as well. Uh, I'm not on Blue Sky at the moment. I don't know if you are, but that's a
I am,
tentative.
but
Okay.
I'm
Maybe.
also on Dunkachino on Blue Sky, but it's spelled differently.
So it goes. That I think in that case will be it for this episode. Thank you for listening.